Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. For weeks now, there has been this skepticism narrative surrounding AI. It has had multiple dimensions, obviously the MIT story, the launch of GPT-5, and on Wall Street it's been particularly pronounced. As I've shared, I think at least when it comes to the market dimension of this, a lot of it has to do with AI taking on the generalized anxiety of the larger stock market. But boy, yesterday on Wall Street, AI skepticism was forcibly removed after Oracle put in one of the most remarkable trading days in recent memory. Now, we talked already about Oracle's big announcement. On yesterday's show, we covered how they had reported a backlog of $455 billion in contracts over the next 5 years. The stock was up 27% overnight after the announcement and reached as much as 43% up, ultimately landing at 36% up to reach a new record high. Valued at around $600 billion at the beginning of the week, Oracle is now almost $1 trillion company. So what happened? This was not a story of Oracle wildly beating analyst estimates. In fact, it was a small miss. Instead, this was all about the future. It was about that $455 billion, in other words, in contracts over the next 5 years. By the end of the day, we got more information around who was accounting for all of that demand. Specifically, we learned that OpenAI was the mystery customer who had contracted for $300 billion last quarter. The deal begins in 2027 and will run over 5 years. The contract requires Oracle to deliver 4.5 gigawatts of compute. This is one of the single largest cloud contracts in history and will require the equivalent of 2 Hoover dams to supply the power. Now, one interesting narrative shift here is the implications of Oracle chairman and founder Larry Ellison becoming the world's wealthiest man. Yesterday's rally in Oracle stock pushed Ellison's net worth up about $100 billion, maybe the biggest single-day gain in wealth in history. With a net worth of nearly $400 billion now, he's basically neck and neck with Elon Musk, and in fact is likely back to second place by the time you're listening, but that's a little bit besides the point. The reason it matters at all is that the title of the world's richest man has tended to follow the dominant tech category of the time. Elon Musk first took the title in 2021 when green tech and EVs were the big narrative. Before that, it was Jeff Bezos on the back of e-commerce. Prior to Bezos, Bill Gates was the wealth leader from software. Now the world's richest man is an AI infrastructure baron. Now, of course, there is still plenty of skepticism out there. Many of the reports have pointedly noted that OpenAI's current annual revenue was $10 billion in June. The company therefore has a long way to go before they can afford to cash flow $300 billion in infrastructure spending. Stock analyst Thomas Chua posted, "The entire growth narrative hinges on a cash-burning customer's ability to raise unprecedented amounts of capital. If OpenAI's funding dries up, Oracle could be left with massive stranded investments in AI infrastructure and a collapsed growth story. There are also plenty of people pointing out that AI revenue is looking a little circular, with OpenAI's revenue flowing into Oracle's balance sheet, which then flows into NVIDIA's balance sheet and back into GPU financing deals. Short seller Jim Chanos wrote an entire thread poking holes in the OpenAI deal, and yet he didn't declare that he's short Oracle. And that's pretty much where we're at with AI bears on Wall Street. It is very cheap right now to write a research note about the AI bubble, but it is starting to get extremely expensive to be stuck on the sideline as AI names rip. The Kobayashi letter simply pointed out the gigantic green candle, writing, "As we continue to reiterate, we are still so early in the AI revolution." Take Him, the author of The NVIDIA Way, posted, "Ridiculous how outlets amplified and platformed that shoddily written MIT paper, conflated Altman's bubble quote, and are now barely mentioning the biggest AI infrastructure print since NVIDIA's May 2023. Again, ignore the noise and focus on fundamental reality." Meanwhile, Wall Street analysts are simply revising their targets up as fast as possible. Strategists for Wells Fargo, Barclays, and Deutsche Bank all boosted their targets for the S&P 500 this week, citing resilient earnings and an unrelenting AI investment cycle. Deutsche Bank now sees another 7% move coming by the end of the year, added to an 11% gain year to date. And importantly, Oracle is the biggest move, but it's by no means the only one. Broadcom is also up more than 20% over the past month on the back of a $10 billion deal to manufacture chips for OpenAI. Tiny cloud provider Nebius is up more than 40% this week after signing a $17 billion partnership with Microsoft. Increasingly, the AI rally is no longer just about the mega-cap tech stocks pushing higher. There is an entire AI supply chain getting dramatically repriced as deals are put in place to power the next 5 years of development. And what's more, as we discuss AI jobs disruption, we're basically completely ignoring all that's going to go into servicing these big deals. Usually when you have a moment of creative destruction, the destruction comes before the creative. It's why new technology often faces resistance. It's easier to see what it disrupts before we understand fully what it creates. In this case, because of infrastructure, we have the potential to see tens of thousands of new jobs materialize, entire categories of new skills that become extremely important and high leverage. very early on in the technology's lifecycle because of the need for infrastructure. You don't hear much about that because there's still such an impulse towards skepticism and not wanting to count chickens before they're hatched. But at least when it comes to the market, it is very clear that for the moment now, AI skepticism is firmly off the menu. And I think that if you look around even beyond the markets, there's reasons to think that this shift is more broad-based as well. First of all, let's talk about Replit's new Agent 3. One of the things that was really interesting about the discourse around GPT-5 was the extent to which it associated AI progress with simply the performance of the base model. Meanwhile, companies are creating entire systems and agents that build on top of models and take advantage of them that are getting more and more performance, even if it is true that base model performance is plateauing, which itself is a highly questionable proposition. But the point is that even if it were plateauing, there are so many other places where we're seeing gains in actual practical production and performance. Agent 3 from Replit is a major step up in what autonomous coding agents can do. In fact, they're claiming that it's 10x more autonomous than their previous agents. The agent is capable of running tests and fixing bugs as it goes. It can also build other agents and automations, and can be used to build workflows within other apps. The biggest improvement is a 200-minute maximum runtime. Y Combinator's Paul Graham wrote, "It seems a bit counterintuitive at first, but one of the most important tests of an AI is how long it can continue thinking about something productively. Replit is now up to 200 minutes. CEO Amjad Masad called this the full self-driving moment of software. Now, one of the big benchmarks for agent autonomy over the past year has been Meter's study of the time horizon for agentic tasks. The study measured agent performance against tasks that would take a human developer various lengths of time and graded them at 50% and 80% accuracy. The study found that the agent time horizon has been doubling on average every 7 months and seems to be increasing. Back in July, Swix wrote, "Ambient agents are going to completely dominate the rest of 2025. Human deep work and focus requires at least 1 to 2 hours uninterrupted. By end of year, all next-gen models will pass the 1 to 2 hour autonomy meter barrier, meaning they will be used in completely different ways than the current 1 to 15-minute autonomy frontier." Now, Masad brought up this study in the context of the release of Agent 3, writing, "The meter paper that says that the length of tasks AI can do is doubling every 7 months radically undersells the scaling that we're seeing at Replit. It might be true if you're measuring one long trajectory for a single model class, but this is where an Agent Research Lab's alpha is. We build multi-agent architecture and use different models from various providers to tap into their latent abilities across various tasks." Another way of saying what he's saying is that while the meter paper might be a good benchmark for general progress of the underlying models, it doesn't do a very good job of measuring the state of the art as agentic scaffolding gets more complex. With this release, we're starting to move beyond coding agents that produce one-time apps and towards continuous AI workers. Gerard Lipscomb, a developer working with the Replit stack, posted, "One-shotting apps was never the test of a vibe coding platform. The real benchmark is maintaining and improving products over time while serving real users without breaking on every new change. Replit is moving faster in this direction than anyone else I'm aware of. As someone building my business on Replit, autonomous app testing and automations is music to my ears. It's yet another signal that they're building a special kind of full-stack ecosystem, the kind that one day might allow you to build not just a product, but a business that runs and improves itself." This is, I think, exactly what all of the discourse around how much better a base model is than the number that came before it misses. It misses the fact that the improvements are coming from these systems, which are being put together to accomplish ever bigger and more significant groups of work all at once. Now, the last thing that I want to point to as another indication that we are at the beginning of a narrative shift once again away from skepticism and towards excitement again, is that Thinking Machines Lab came out with its first shared research, and people are really excited. On Wednesday, the company put out a paper on the issue of non-determinism or randomness in AI outputs. Basically, the idea that you could prompt the same AI 2 separate times with the exact same prompt and the exact same model and come up with 2 very different answers. This has been treated as just sort of the cost of doing business with LLMs and something that couldn't necessarily be fixed. However, the team at Thinking Machines Lab, led by Horace He, who was recruited from Meta, argued that actually the problem here is something which they call batch invariance. The neuron actually had a really interesting layperson ELI5 kind of analogy. They said, imagine ordering the same coffee at Starbucks, but it tastes different depending on how many other customers are in line. That's essentially what's happening with AI models. When an AI server is busy handling lots of requests, it processes them in batches. Your request gets bundled with others because that's more efficient, and somehow this changes your specific answer even though it shouldn't. Follow the logic, and the busier the server, the more your results vary. Thinking Machines Labs, or Thinky for short, released their approach as open source code, which they're calling batch invariant kernels. Now, hold aside all the specifics here. This is a big, thorny technical research problem that a lot of people had just given up on. And so the fact that this lab dropped a solution in a way that anyone else can interact with it has, I think, jogged people into remembering that there's actually still so much exciting science and research to be done that will fundamentally improve what we get out of AI. So summing this up, yesterday we got one of the biggest days in stock history because of a massive AI infrastructure deal and a halo effect that came over into other AI stocks as well. We got a brand new agent that totally pushed the frontiers of how much autonomy an agent could actually behave with, and we got some really exciting new science. That is why I am saying officially AI skepticism is canceled. RIP, hope you enjoyed your month in the spotlight. For now, that's going to do it for the AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching as always, and until next time, peace.